In a galaxy far away, a brutal war raged among many alien species. Each race fought for control of precious resources, planets, and power. The universe was filled with chaos and destruction as battles took place in the depths of space, leaving many worlds scarred and desolate. The powerful Zarkons, the cunning Velatrons, and the ancient Malarites were some of the main players in this conflict. Each group had its own strengths and weaknesses, but one thing was clear: the war was far from over. While these alien races battled for supremacy, Earth remained blissfully unaware of the turmoil beyond its atmosphere. Humans had made significant advancements in technology, but their focus was on exploring their own planet and beyond. They built spacecraft, developed artificial intelligence, and created new energy sources, all while maintaining a peaceful existence. Earth was thriving, with people living their daily lives, unaware of the horrors unfolding in the galaxy. One fateful day, everything changed. A group of Zarkon ships, eager to expand their territory, mistook a human research station on Mars for a military base. They launched a surprise attack, hoping to claim the area for themselves. The attack was swift and brutal. The Martian base was filled with scientists and engineers, not soldiers. They had no chance to defend themselves against the advanced weapons of the Zarkons. Alarms blared as the base fell into chaos. Scientists scrambled to escape, but many were captured or killed. The news of the attack spread quickly back to Earth. The leaders of the planet gathered in a massive conference room, their faces filled with concern. They had always believed that their advancements in technology would keep them safe from outside threats, but this attack proved that they were mistaken. The world leaders knew they could no longer ignore the war raging in the galaxy. "How could this happen?" one leader exclaimed, his voice shaking with anger. "We thought we were safe. We can't let them get away with this." Another leader, a woman with a determined expression, spoke up. "We must respond quickly. We have the technology to defend ourselves, but we need to prepare. We can't let fear control us." With that, a plan was set into motion. Earth's military began to mobilize. Soldiers were called back from peacekeeping missions, and engineers worked day and night to enhance their spacecraft and weapons. Humans knew they had to act decisively. They were no longer just observers. They were about to become players in a galactic war. As the preparations unfolded, people from all walks of life came together. Engineers, scientists, and even ordinary citizens volunteered to serve. The spirit of unity grew stronger, and hope filled the air. Humanity had always been resilient, but now they had a shared purpose. They were fighting not only for their survival, but also to protect their home. The news of the coalition began to spread across the galaxy. Many alien races, suffering under the weight of the ongoing war, began to take notice. They saw the humans as a potential ally. While they had previously viewed Earth as a minor player in the galaxy, the attack on Mars had changed everything. Humans were not just isolated beings. They were ready to fight back. Meanwhile, the Zarkons celebrated their supposed victory. They believed they could crush any resistance before it even started. They underestimated the power of unity and determination among the humans. While the Zarkons reveled in their victory, whispers of rebellion and hope grew louder among the oppressed alien races. In a secret meeting, leaders from different alien species gathered to discuss the situation. They knew they had to act quickly. With the humans on their side, they could turn the tide of the war. "If we join forces with the humans, we might finally have a chance," one leader suggested. "Together we can show the Zarkons that they are not invincible." As alliances began to form, a new chapter in the Galactic War was about to unfold. The stage was set for an epic confrontation. Humans were no longer mere spectators. They were ready to fight back against the tyranny of the alien races. The universe held its breath, waiting to see if the combined strength of humanity and their new allies could bring an end to the conflict once and for all. Little did they know, the real battle was just beginning, and the fate of the galaxy rested in their hands. As the news of the attack on Mars spread across Earth, fear mixed with anger. People were scared about the unknown threat from the galaxy, but they were also filled with a strong desire to fight back. In every corner of the planet, discussions erupted. Families gathered around tables, friends talked in cafes, and leaders met in offices. The message was clear. Humanity could no longer stand by and watch. In the heart of the United Nations building, world leaders met to discuss their next steps. The room buzzed with tension. They needed a plan that would unite the entire planet. A tall man with silver hair stood up. "We have technology that the galaxy hasn't seen. We can build a fleet powerful enough to challenge the Zarkons." His voice was steady, and everyone turned to listen. A woman in a military uniform spoke next. "We have to prepare our soldiers for battle. We can't just rely on our technology. Our people need training and support. If we are to fight in this war, we must be ready." The room filled with nods of agreement. They all knew that Earth had never faced a challenge like this before. Meanwhile, across the planet, ordinary people began to step up. Young men and women lined up at military recruitment centers eager to serve. They had heard the stories of bravery and resilience, and they wanted to be part of something bigger than themselves. Engineers, scientists, and medical professionals also volunteered, ready to lend their skills to the fight. At a bustling training facility, the sound of marching feet echoed through the halls. Young recruits filled with determination trained hard. They practiced drills, learned about their advanced weapons, and studied tactics that could outsmart their alien foes. The spirit of camaraderie grew strong among them. They shared dreams of victory and hopes for their families, pledging to protect their home. One young recruit named Alex stood out. He had always been fascinated by space and technology. He spent his childhood building models of spaceships and dreaming of exploring the stars. Now he was training to fight in a war that could change everything. He felt a mix of excitement and fear, but was determined to do his part. "If we don't fight for our future, who will?" he thought as he pushed himself harder during training. As Earth's forces gathered, news of their preparations spread across the galaxy. Many alien races watched with growing interest. The Velatrons, who had been oppressed by the Zarkons, saw hope in the humans' determination. They knew they needed allies. A council of Velatron leaders met in secret, deciding to reach out to the humans. "If we join forces, we can fight back against the Zarkon oppression," one leader declared. In the depths of space, the Zarkons grew complacent. They believed their victory was assured after the attack on Mars. "Those Earthlings are weak," one Zarkon general scoffed. "They will never mount a real defense." Little did they know that humanity was rising, united and strong. Meanwhile, Alex and his fellow recruits learned about the history of the Zarkons and their cruelty. They heard stories of alien races that had suffered and lost hope. This only fueled their desire to fight harder. "We are not just fighting for ourselves, we are fighting for everyone who has been oppressed," Alex said during a training session, his voice filled with passion. As training continued, Earth's leaders began to devise a plan to launch their first offensive. They wanted to strike back at the Zarkons and show them that humanity would not be easily defeated. The time for action was near. The humans were ready to prove their worth. Finally, the day arrived. Earth's first fleet, a collection of advanced spaceships armed with the latest technology, prepared to launch. As the ships ascended into the stars, a sense of hope filled the hearts of everyone watching from below. Families gathered to witness the historic moment, cheering for their brave heroes. Alex stood on the deck of his ship looking out into the vastness of space. He felt a rush of adrenaline and purpose. "This is it," he thought, gripping the controls tightly. "We are no longer just Earthlings. We are warriors ready to fight for our place in the galaxy." As the fleet moved toward their destination, humanity had transformed from a peaceful planet into a united force, ready to confront the darkness of war. They were no longer just bystanders. They were ready to join the fight and change the course of history. The battle for their future had just begun, and they would face it together, side by side. The fleet of Earth's spaceships soared through the vast emptiness of space. Each ship was equipped with advanced technology and filled with brave men and women ready to fight for their planet. As they approached the Zarkon territory, a mix of excitement and nervousness filled the air. This was it, their first battle. They would finally show the galaxy that humanity was not weak. Captain Sarah Lewis stood on the bridge of her ship, the USS Defender. She looked at her crew, all focused and ready for action. They had trained hard for this moment, and now it was time to put their skills to the test. "All crew members, prepare for battle stations," she commanded, her voice steady and strong. The crew moved swiftly, checking their equipment and getting ready for what lay ahead. As the fleet drew closer to the Zarkon stronghold, they spotted enemy ships patrolling the area. Zarkon vessels, dark and menacing, moved with purpose. They were larger and more powerful, but the humans had something the Zarkons did not: determination. "They may have numbers," Captain Lewis thought, "but we have courage." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the Defender. A Zarkon ship had spotted them and was firing its weapons. "Evasive maneuvers," shouted Sarah, gripping the controls tightly. The crew followed her orders, maneuvering the ship with agility. The first volley of enemy fire zoomed past, missing them by inches. The crew cheered, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The battle began in full force. Human ships darted in and out of the enemy's line of fire, firing their weapons with precision. The bright beams of energy filled the darkness of space, illuminating the chaos of the battle. The air was thick with tension as they engaged the enemy. "Stay focused!" Sarah shouted to her crew. "We can do this!" Across the battlefield, Alex and his fellow recruits were on board the USS Valor. He could feel his heart racing as they faced their first enemy ships. "We're really doing this," he thought, excitement coursing through him. He took a deep breath and steadied himself. He remembered his training and focused on his duty. As they engaged a Zarkon ship, Alex worked alongside his team, firing their weapons and dodging enemy fire. The Zarkons were fierce, but the humans were quick and strategic. They moved as one, supporting each other through the chaos. Alex's heart swelled with pride. They were no longer just recruits, they were soldiers. In the heat of battle, the Zarkon ships started to take heavy damage. Their arrogance began to fade as they realized that the humans were not as easy to defeat as they had thought. Captain Lewis led her ship into the fray, coordinating with other human vessels. "Target the engines," she ordered. "If we disable their ships, we can win this." The crew responded with determination. They fired shot after shot, aiming for the vulnerable parts of the Zarkon ships. Explosions lit up the dark void of space as Zarkon ships began to falter. Alex watched in awe as the first Zarkon vessel exploded, debris scattering across the battlefield. "We're winning!" he yelled, adrenaline pumping through his veins. But just as hope began to rise, a massive Zarkon dreadnought entered the battlefield. It was the flagship of the Zarkon fleet, equipped with powerful weapons and heavily armored. Fear washed over the human crew as they realized the battle was far from over. "We need to regroup," Captain Lewis shouted. "We can't take it on alone." The humans quickly fell back, forming a defensive line. They communicated with each other, strategizing their next move. The dreadnought fired a barrage of energy blasts, and the humans dodged and weaved, barely avoiding destruction. In the midst of chaos, Alex had an idea. "If we work together and concentrate our fire, we can penetrate its shields," he suggested, his voice rising above the noise of battle. The crew agreed, and they prepared for one final push. "On my mark," Captain Lewis instructed. The tension in the air was palpable as they aligned their ships and aimed their weapons at the dreadnought. "Now!" she commanded. The ships fired together, a united front of energy beams striking the Zarkon flagship all at once. The dreadnought shuddered under the assault, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then, with a deafening explosion, it was destroyed, scattering debris across the battlefield. Cheers erupted from the human ships as they witnessed their first major victory. They had faced the fearsome Zarkons and emerged triumphant. The tide of battle was turning, and humanity had proved that they were not to be underestimated. As they navigated through the remnants of the battlefield, Captain Lewis smiled. "Today we have shown the galaxy our strength. This is only the beginning. Together we will change the course of this war." With renewed hope, the fleet continued forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Humanity had taken its first step into the galaxy, and they were ready to fight for their place among the stars. After the victory in their first battle, Earth's fleet returned home as heroes. News of their triumph spread like wildfire, inspiring hope across the planet. People who had once doubted humanity's ability to fight back now rallied behind their soldiers. Families celebrated, and the mood was electric. Everyone felt a renewed sense of purpose. In the halls of the United Nations, leaders gathered to discuss their next steps. Captain Sarah Lewis was invited to share her experiences from the battlefield. She stood before the assembly, a determined look in her eyes. "We have shown that humanity can stand against the Zarkons," she began. "But we cannot fight this war alone. We need allies. We need to form a coalition." Her words resonated with the leaders. They understood that to defeat the Zarkons, they needed support from other races who had also suffered under their rule. After much discussion, they decided to send envoys to the Velatrons, a race eager to join forces against the Zarkons. Meanwhile, on the home front, Alex and his fellow recruits were still buzzing with excitement. Their victory felt unreal. During training, they discussed what would come next. "If we can form alliances with other species, we could become even stronger," Alex said, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. His friends agreed, and they couldn't wait to see who would join their cause. Days turned into weeks as Earth's leaders prepared for their diplomatic mission. A small fleet, including the USS Defender and other ships, was selected to travel to the Velatron homeworld. Captain Lewis was chosen to lead the mission, and she knew this was a crucial step. If they could secure a strong alliance, it would change the course of the war. As they traveled through space, the crew prepared for what lay ahead. They knew that meeting other alien races would not be easy. There were cultural differences, language barriers, and the lingering threat of the Zarkons. "Stay respectful and open-minded," Captain Lewis reminded them. "This is our chance to show that we can be trusted allies." Upon reaching the Velatron homeworld, they were greeted by stunning views of a vibrant planet. Tall, luminescent trees stretched towards the sky, and colorful plants covered the landscape. The Velatrons themselves were a sight to behold, tall beings with shimmering skin and elegant features. They had been watching the humans with interest, and now the time had come for a meeting. The Velatron Council welcomed Captain Lewis and her crew into a grand chamber filled with intricate designs and glowing crystals. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. "We have heard of your victory against the Zarkons," the council leader said, their voice resonating. "We wish to join you in this fight. We, too, have suffered under their tyranny." Captain Lewis felt a surge of relief and excitement. "Together we can fight back and free those who have been oppressed," she replied. The council nodded in agreement, and they quickly began to discuss strategies for cooperation. As the days passed, the humans and Velatrons worked closely together. They shared technology, tactics, and experiences. The Velatrons had advanced energy weapons and impressive ship designs that complemented Earth's technology. They also trained together, practicing joint maneuvers to strengthen their bond. Alex found himself growing closer to some Velatron recruits. They exchanged stories of their people, their hopes, and dreams. It was exciting to learn about another culture, and Alex felt a sense of unity growing between them. "We are not so different," he said to a Velatron named Kira. "We all want to be free and live in peace." With the coalition forming, Captain Lewis and her team set their sights on reaching out to more races across the galaxy. They understood that there were many who felt oppressed and could benefit from joining forces with the humans and Velatrons. "We need to spread the word," she told her crew. "We must show others that the time to fight back has come." With this new alliance, the humans and Velatrons prepared to send envoys to other planets. They aimed to find more allies who shared their desire for freedom. As their fleet set off into the stars once more, hope filled their hearts. They were no longer alone. They had a coalition united for a common cause. The coalition began to grow, drawing in races from distant worlds. Each new ally brought unique strengths and perspectives, creating a powerful alliance against the Zarkons. Together, they planned their next moves, eager to strike back against the enemy. As they forged new friendships and alliances, the warriors of Earth and Velatron looked toward the future. The war was far from over, but they had taken the first steps toward victory. The galaxy would soon know that humanity and its allies were a force to be reckoned with. Together, they would fight for freedom, justice, and a brighter tomorrow. The time had come for the final showdown. After weeks of planning and gathering allies, the coalition was ready to face the Zarkon Empire in a decisive battle. Captain Sarah Lewis stood on the bridge of the USS Defender, looking at the faces of her crew and their allies. Excitement and tension filled the air. They knew this fight would determine the fate of many worlds. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for every planet that has suffered under Zarkon rule," Sarah said, her voice firm and full of purpose. The crew cheered, feeling the weight of their mission. The Velatrons, with their tall, elegant forms and glowing skin, stood alongside them. Together they were stronger than ever. The coalition fleet consisted of ships from various races. Each one brought different strengths, making their force a powerful sight. As they approached the Zarkon stronghold, Sarah could see the enemy fleet gathering. Massive dreadnoughts and smaller fighter ships filled the space before them, a dark cloud of destruction. "Prepare for battle," Sarah ordered. The crew moved quickly, their training kicking in. They checked weapons and made sure everything was ready. Alex, now a skilled pilot, felt the thrill of anticipation as he took his place in the cockpit. He was ready to fight for his planet and the allies he had come to respect. As the two fleets faced off, the tension was palpable. The Zarkons looked confident, but the Coalition had something they didn't: unity. "On my mark!" Sarah shouted. The atmosphere was electric, and everyone held their breath, waiting for the signal. "Now!" she commanded. The battle erupted. Energy beams shot through space, colliding with ships on both sides. The Coalition fighters danced among the enemy vessels, using their agility and teamwork to avoid incoming fire. Sarah guided the defender into the heart of the battle, leading the charge. "Follow my lead," she shouted, and her crew responded with enthusiasm. They focused their fire on a nearby Zarkon dreadnought, working together to weaken its shields. Explosions erupted all around them as the two sides clashed. Alex piloted his ship, the USS Valor, with precision. He weaved in and out of enemy fire, feeling the adrenaline rush through him. "This is for Earth!" he shouted, firing his weapons at a Zarkon fighter. The Zarkon ship exploded in a bright flash, and Alex felt a surge of victory. They were winning, but the Zarkons were fierce opponents. They rallied their forces and launched a counterattack. A massive Zarkon battleship emerged from the fray, its weapons powered up and ready to unleash destruction. It aimed its guns at the Coalition ships, and fear swept through the ranks. "We need to take it down!" Sarah yelled. "Focus your fire on that battleship." The Coalition ships regrouped, targeting the massive enemy vessel. Beams of energy surged through space, striking the battleship. It shook violently but continued to fire back, its blasts lighting up the darkness. In the midst of the chaos, a Zarkon commander on the battleship realized that the Coalition was stronger than they had anticipated. "We must crush them!" he shouted to his crew. "Fire everything we have!" As the Coalition pressed their attack, Captain Lewis spotted a weak point on the battleship's hull. "That's it," she said, pointing to the target. "If we can hit that spot, we can disable its power core." Alex and his crew listened closely. They aligned their ships, aiming carefully. "On my count," Sarah instructed. 1, 2, 3, now! With a combined effort, the Coalition ships fired all at once, their energy beams converging on the weak point. The impact was tremendous. The Zarkon battleship shook violently as explosions erupted from within. For a moment, it seemed like time stood still. Then, with a blinding flash, the battleship exploded in a massive fireball. Cheers erupted across the Coalition fleet. They had taken down one of the Zarkon's most powerful ships. The enemy was in disarray, and the Coalition pressed their advantage, pushing forward with renewed vigor. The tide of battle had turned. The Coalition pressed on, destroying Zarkon fighters and dreadnoughts with a fierce determination. As the dust settled, the remaining Zarkon forces began to retreat, their confidence shattered. With the victory secured, the Coalition gathered to celebrate their hard-fought win. Captain Lewis looked at her crew and their allies, pride swelling in her chest. They had faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious. "Today we have shown the galaxy that together we are stronger," she declared. As the Coalition fleet returned home, they were greeted as heroes. They had fought for freedom and unity, and their victory would be remembered for generations. With new alliances formed and friendships forged, the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, and they were ready for whatever came next. Together they would face the future, united against any threat that dared to challenge their strength and resolve. The war was over, but the journey had just begun.